Today in the Ram Truck Workshop, RX production manager Blake Sloane is showing me how to make a Rebuilding Exchange original, a rustic-looking mirror made out of reclaimed building materials from the RX warehouse.
The main idea is that we're keeping it out of a landfill and gonna come up with a creative way to use it once again.
To get this project going, we'll need wood glue, wooden barbecue skewers, a mirror hanging kit, a hammer, some small brad nails, and of course, your safety glasses. You'll need at least one drill, but we have two to keep things moving along. We'll also use the miter saw and a 45-degree clamp, but there are alternatives to both. Finally, we'll need the mirrored piece of glass and the wood for the frame. We're using some old tongue and groove wood flooring from the warehouse. A perfect choice for a frame because we could just drop the mirror right behind the groove to help hold it in place. Also notice I didn't mention any measuring devices. Blake just likes to wing it.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is set my mirror in the groove. I'm not gonna use any tape measure. It's a lot easier for me to just mark and measure based on the mirror than to try to measure this and transfer it to another piece. A lot of things could get lost in translation. And I'm just gonna give myself a little bit of extra room, marking above and below the mirror. About 1/8, 1/16 of an inch.
Okay.
And then I like to make a little line going this way to remind me which way to cut the frame.
So do you do like a 45-degree angle cut there?
Exactly,
yep. Okay, I'm learning.
All right, so I'm gonna bring this over to our miter saw over here. So one thing that's really important is that we set our angles to 45 degrees and cut exactly at 45 degrees. A 46-degree angle and a 45 degree are gonna give you a gap somewhere along the line. So we really wanna be careful with that.
Blake makes sure the wood is flush against the fence and makes his first cut. Then he spins his miter to the other side and makes the opposing cut according to his mark.
You wanna go ahead and see if that's still gonna work with the mirror?
Sure.
What I'm looking for is a little bit of room on either side of the mirror.
Yeah, I think that works.
Right, yeah, that's pretty perfect.
So you're gonna use this piece to measure with now?
Yeah,
or?
you got it, see? So instead of trying to measure this with a tape and then transferring that onto the piece, I just wanna duplicate this piece. But another thing I gotta keep in mind is that my little groove is always gotta be oriented towards the inside of the mirror.
Sure.
So right now, this angle is going the wrong way.
Yep.
So before I do any marking or measuring, I'm just gonna cut that angle the other way.
After Blake makes that cut, he uses the first piece as a guide to measure and cut the second piece. Then uses the mirror to measure and cut the two shorter lengths of the frame, always making sure the angles are correct. Now we start to put this thing together, and that's where the angle clamp comes in. This tool holds our pieces tight while we secure the two 45-degree pieces into a perfect right angle.
But then don't put that on yet. We still gotta get some glue in there.
Let me touch.
All right. I just like to make sure that the clamps are set right before I start making a mess with glue.
You just don't like me touching things, do you?
Please do not.
Blake applies the wood glue, but he does allow me to spin the clamps, which I do quite well. Thank you. While the clamps are still tight, he hammers in a couple of small brad nails into each side. We do the opposite corner the same way and go clampless for the last two.
So that looks pretty good. I've certainly seen more rustic frames built in the workshop here.
Okay.
So we've got 4 relatively tight corners. The mirror should drop nicely in there.
Okay.
So, see there how handsome you are?
Yeah.
The mirror looks handsome, but now we have to hold it in place. Blake has an excellent trick here using wooden barbecue skewers from the kitchen. He snaps 4 small pieces off one end, drills tiny pilot holes at an angle into the frame, loads the skewer bits up with glue, and jams them in.
I think that'll work. So now we got our 4 skewers holding that nice and tight, right?
Yeah.
I trust that. So the last thing we want to do is just sneak a little hardware on there and make sure we can hang it.
For that, we just use a mirror hanging kit we bought for $5 at the hardware store. We drill pilot holes and attach a couple of D-hooks about 2/3 of the way up the frame, and run the included wire across the back.
That's all you need to do?
Yep, just like that.
Oh,
You
wow.
tug on it, you see how that braided wire works good. So there you have it.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Looks like we just need to polish it up, right?
Yeah.
This project was surprisingly more involved than I thought it would be, but we still only spent about $10 and about an hour putting this mirror together. Not bad. And if you're lacking your own Ram Truck Workshop, the Rebuilding Exchange offers Make It Take It classes on site.
We have a nice looking mirror for the house. How you doing?